Welcome to the Amateur Football Podcast. I have Anne-Marie and Blue, FC Shepherd's Bush. How are you two doing?
Great.
Yeah. So this show is a response to a previous episode that I had with Jamal Horn from the London FA and also Andy, manager of West Fulham. The kind of conversation went pretty deep into certain things, and these two want to actually come on just to clarify a few things that Andy said about their club. So I'm going to just open it up to you guys to actually start.
So let me start. So just to clarify, so firstly, FC Shepherd's Bush is a separate entity. Andy spoke of players coming through a first team to a vets team. We only have a vets team. We don't have any other teams at this club. We started initially when we first started in 2003 as an open age team, but obviously I was an open age player at that time. That's why I started the club, and to get youths off the street. I think I explained a bit of this to you previously when we spoke. And then we were playing for about maybe 4 or 5 years, and then the club kind of went into a little bit of an abyss for a little while. We came back as vets, and that's all we've been, is vets, from I think it's maybe 2017. About 2017. And since then we've been, or 16 even, we've been vets. So the other club he speaks of, which he's getting confused with, which you kind of did when we first started, is Shepherd's Bush FC. Completely different club. Their logo is red and a wolf. Our logo is the man and his shepherd, as you may see. Where we are. There we are. Yeah, okay. There we go. Yeah, the man and his dog. The shepherd and his dog. FC Shepherd's Bush. So they are not related in the slightest. We are cousin clubs, if you want to call it that, because the chairman of that club originally played for this club as an open age player, as a youngster, and he decided to want to build on what I initially started, and that's what he's doing now with his own club, separate entity. Okay. Just to be clear on that one. Yeah. Okay. I can't remember what else there was to do with officiality wise.
There was a conversation regarding a player that played in the semi-final, in the quarterfinal. Can you guys clarify that situation?
Well, to clarify, a player who played, who there was some questions about eligibility and stuff. So with that, which I did say in the comments while the show was going on, I understand his frustrations in terms of maybe it not being clear enough, but my understanding of it was always that, firstly, I thought it was that if a player is a contracted player, first and foremost, I thought it was to do with the player being a contracted player, which this player isn't. He's a non-contracted player who's basically just playing like on a running contract, basically. He's not contracted for 3-4 years. It's open basically. But he was saying that which is where it gets confused. We thought that they were saying if they play 3 or more games at step 5, but then from what I was the understanding I'm getting from the conversation you guys were having was that it was based on whether they play for the same team at step 5, which is not the case. And from what I heard, Jamal clarified that he was eligible to play for that reason and is eligible to play in the next games, from what I heard, because Andy did question him about that, and he said, he did say that he wouldn't be in breach of anything if he did play in the semi-final, the final. So that's a question what I would love to clarify with Jamal. But more so, the game was won convincingly. That's the one thing. From outside, I wasn't at the game, but from an outsider's point of view, in terms of who didn't attend the game, it was won convincingly. Yes, there were questions around the referee and so on and so forth, but that doesn't change the scoreline. The scoreline was the scoreline, and that won't change. I don't actually get what the argument was, because at the game there was no question of this player being eligible. They've played against this group of players many a time, and that's never been brought up. So why only now? There's one question I would ask, and it seems to me that it's because obviously they lost, and so now the what was brought into question about the ref and the weather and all the rest of it wasn't a strong enough argument. So they tried to find something else. That's what it seemed like to me. And I'm cool with Andy, and I always have been, but I think he was taking it a bit far when he's talking about a manager's a snake and all of the rest of that stuff. It's we're all grown. It don't matter how you feel. You don't have to like everybody. Yeah, we can, in the moment it's passion and we lost and stuff, but after that we laugh and move on. And like what Jamal said, and him questioning about re-entering the London Cup, if you're that adamant, you go in it next season and you win it. You come up against us, you beat us and show us that way, not like, for me it's like throwing your toys out the pram. That's how I feel. I just think it didn't need to go as far as it did in terms of the conversations what were taking place. It wasn't necessary. But yeah, I'll let Anne-Marie take it away with the regards to about the registrations and stuff. He was questioning registrations and what have you.
Yeah, so just to point out, to clarify that I do all of the registrations for the Shepherd's Bush Vets team, the Old Stars, and we obviously have to do 2 sets of registrations, one for the MITU system because we're with the Middlesex County Football League, and then again on whole game system. And I can assure you that all of those registrations have been done above board, and I register those players under the details that they give me. And in regard to players having more than one fan number, the first thing I do on whole game system is to search a player. So if that player comes up with a fan number already, it's easy. It's quite straightforward process. You just add them in, new photo, confirm that their details are the same, and it's easy. Sometimes they don't find players. And actually what's happened is, in situations like that, I've always contacted the London FA to get clarification, to say, I'm trying to do this with this player, I'm finding it difficult to find them, etc., etc. And then I get feedback from them of how to do that. So if we do have any players that have more than one fan number on there, first of all, it was news to me. But secondly, it's purely been either human error or an oversight on our part. There at no point is there any corruption going on that we're trying to change players' names. I can assure you, from my point of view, I'm not familiar with Andy, but I know a few of his players. I've watched them play a few times. I have no interest in playing any corrupt games or trying to register players inelligibly or underhandedly at all. I've done everything by the rules and the regulations set to me. And like I said, if there are any inaccuracies, it's human error or an oversight, and I'm happy to try and rectify that if they're brought to my attention. I'll always address it. But at the moment, nothing's been brought to my attention about any players or any registration errors. So just wanted to clarify that there's no cheating going on from my side.
What's your feelings about the London FA? And again, this is an open question to both of you.
Well, it's our parent. London FA is our parent club, and I mean, all the biggest cup competitions are the county cup competitions, and the London FA is generally it's the biggest one because it covers the most ground. So for me, I think it's probably the hardest one to win. Which, all due respect and props to West Fulham, they have done so. So one thing I would agree with what he said is, if teams like West Fulham did decide not to enter next season, it does weaken the competition because they're one of the stronger teams, and we want all of the strongest teams in there to compete against them. So to answer the question, I think it's the strongest county cup competition there is.
Question for you and Marie, in terms of like the back end stuff that like you like do as the club secretary, is there any processes that you think the London FA or the FA can do to literally help you speed up your job?
No, I find the whole game system pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. I think I mean, you have to just kind of get the hang of that sort of thing. But in terms of communication with them, I haven't had to have too much communication with them. Blue still takes on quite a lot of the communication at a higher level. So at the moment, my role has been sort of fixtures and registrations and disciplinaries, anything to do with that. So unless Blue wants to add to
that. Yeah, I mean, there's not much I can really add to that. I think, yeah, Anne-Marie's kind of covered most of it in terms of what they can do to help. I think it's you learn as you go along. Whatever issues arise each season, then they can be spoken out and addressed. It's hindsight is a great thing. Everybody will say, yeah, you should have done this, you should have done this, should have done the other. But prior to it happening, nobody would have said that because it had never been a problem. So, but I do think that there needs to be a little bit more clarity on that step 5 whole situation. Reason I'd say that is because in different FAs, it's different. I think there should be one rule across the board for that. So there's no confusion. I do believe that. And it needs to be made completely clear, because I think that if they were to make it that a player, let's say for argument's sake, a player that played at step 5, it shouldn't be able to play for a grassroots club, I think they're taken away, because that the fact that a player of that caliber and some of the players who have played for us and for other clubs are willing to play at this level is a good thing for grassroots football, because it means for vets, I think vets is, we spoke about this on a prior show to Bryce, that it is so competitive now. And I think it's more competitive than open age football to a certain degree, because of the caliber of players. So many ex-pros and all non-league and semi-professional. Majority of the players now are from that level of football in the semi-pro, in the vets circle.
Do you think your football club is being dragged through the mud? Is it?
Well, yeah, some of the comments what were made, that's why I wanted to come in here and clarify. Some of the comments what were made, if you didn't know the club, you'd think that we were involved in some scandalous stuff and changing names and having fraudulent IDs and all sorts, which isn't the case. It's crazy. Like, I just think it's been blown out of proportion because of one game, what wasn't won by a team what has been quite successful in this cup competition, and obviously rightly so, they're upset that they're not in anymore, but it's like directing all of that blame at another club seems a bit unfair. I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. But we're just here to clarify that that's not the case. We run the club above board to the best of our ability. As I said, I started this club with the intention to get youths off the streets, and a lot of the people who were with me at the club at that stage, some have moved on, some are still with me, and it done the job, what I set out to achieve, because there are a lot of successful young men walking around and still on the streets, not in trouble, and have changed their lives because of this. So that's my whole thing. And now it's about bringing communities together and a few old boys to have some fun, and just trying to have a bit of fun, basically.
Anne-Marie, we like met a few weeks ago, and like you had your camera and you was filming the Catford Hollanton game.
Always.
How and again, I just want to go on camera and say it was my fault regarding Catford's second goal, why Anne-Marie didn't capture it. So let me just apologize. But how important is it to literally create social media profiles, platforms, and to actually document what's going on within the Vets game?
I think it's really important, actually, and I don't know how that's become my role, because that's not my role, but I just think that, the players are there, everybody wants to remember the goals that they've scored or just little tricks they might do. So I tend to get my camera out at certain points. Sometimes I miss some, but it's got to the point where now people turn to me and say, "Did you get that?" And I have to say yay or nay. But I missed the second goal because Tabriz was too busy asking me to send him something on social media about a penalty. So, but I think it's really important because it just shows people actually how competitive Vets football is, and it's just a really nice environment most of the time. If I'm honest, like you see, Tabriz, I go to a lot of the different games, different leagues, and it's just I'm not necessarily supporting either side. I just like to see good football, and like I said, mostly it's enjoyable. But promoting that to more and more people, I've now even got friends that are saying to me, "Oh, I might come and watch a couple of your games," which is really
Blue semi-finals against Ground Hoppers.
Yeah.
How are your guys feeling about that game?
Confident. It's been a good season so far. We're confident. Obviously, it's on a Saturday, so it's a different feel for us playing on a Saturday and an afternoon kickoff, Saturday kickoff. But it's a game. It's another game, competitive game. One game away for a final because we've already we're in the League Cup final for our league, so that's one final down. We can potentially be in 3 cup finals because we've got the London Cup semi-final now, and then we've still got the Surrey Cup we're contesting in as well.
Okay. And if anyone wants to know more about FC Shepherd's Bush, how can they contact the club?
You can hit us up on Instagram on FC Shebu Stars on Insta, Facebook, and on Snapchat and TikTok.
Anne-Marie and Blue, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you very much, my brother.